Good morning, Ottawa. It is Wednesday, May 8th, and welcome to my YouTube channel. I know it's really sparse at the moment, but that's just temporary. Just temporary. So, it's May already. Can you believe that? Like seriously, May. And so I'm switching over to YouTube. And the reason I'm switching over to YouTube is because it's a bigger platform. It's public, and I just want to be able to do more things with it and then get a different sort of audience. And all trends in social media engagement pretty much point to YouTube. So who am I and what is my channel going to be about? Well, so it's actually been a while. I've actually tried this in the past. I've tried doing instructional things with beadwork, with cooking, that kind of thing. But I ain't no professional. I ain't no website designer. I'm not anyone of any particular talent. However, I do have the gift of gab. I am 48 years old, and for the better part of 4 decades, I have been making a lot of observations about, just the world in general, how I interact with the world, about a lot of truths in this world that I wish somebody had told me when I was younger. And yeah, I tend to talk with my hands. I'll keep an eye on that. But no, what I really want to do is change the world in a positive way. So I posted a lot of videos on my Facebook, which I go by the name Crystal on Facebook, but my name is also Christine. And my family did a podcast with CBC Radio called Finding Cleo. And that's how I got such a big social media following, is because that particular podcast has been downloaded about 23 million times. So you can find that at cbc.ca/radio/Finding Cleo. And you can also find that on iTunes, on Stitcher, and all these other awesome podcast apps that you might listen to. So it's actually a 10-episode podcast, and the episodes range in size from half hour to an hour. And yeah, before I did this podcast, though, because it revolves around 3 subjects. It revolves around missing and murdered Indigenous women and girls. It revolves around subject to residential school, and of course the 60s Scoop, which is where, hundreds of thousands of Indigenous children here in Canada were apprehended and sent around the United States, Canada, and the entire planet in an effort to assimilate us, which didn't really work. No. And now that 60 scoopers are like my age, 48 and older, yeah, it's come to light that the majority of those adoptions did not work out well. So yeah, I've just basically been, before, the social media prominence, what was I? I was an artist, and I was a consultant for First Nations. I'm a writer first and foremost, but I'm also a visual artist, and I do some paintings, as you can tell by the blank canvas back there. I'm also a mother, a grandmother, an educator. I've been sober for almost 27 years now. So a lot of my life has been colored by my experience, because we are the result of all of our experiences, right? It's impossible to have a nice life, at any given point in time in isolation of something, unless, of course, you have amnesia. Of course, there's an exception to every rule. But for the most part, those of us fully functioning, living, breathing human beings are who they are today based on where they came from. So, and the experiences that happened to them. And so, yeah, I just want to shed a little light, spread some light into the world. And yeah, I just want to talk about things in general that I wish I had known. So my life story is just a nutshell version. I'll just give you the real quick thing now. If you listen to the podcast, you'll find out about all of it. But nutshell version, I was adopted. I was one of 2 children in that. I was the youngest. I had an older brother, and I was raised in a non-Indigenous community. I am Plains Cree Sioux in origin and heritage, but I was raised in a totally non-Indigenous home and community. I was pretty much the only Indigenous person in my town for many years. You get the odd one in an upper grade or lower grade, but no, I wasn't raised with my people at all. And that was in small town Saskatchewan. Yes. was raised in a town called Wynyard, Saskatchewan, which is actually primarily Icelandic and Ukrainian. In fact, there were so many Ukrainians in my town that we celebrated, Ukrainian Christmas on January 7th, and I learned how to make Ukrainian Easter eggs and actually speak a little bit of Ukrainian also. So yeah, you should see me with a kishka. Way back in the day, holding it over a candle. A kishka is actually that traditional tool that Ukrainians use to decorate their Easter eggs. And you've all seen those eggs. They are just like insane detail, right? So back in the day, we used to hold them over, a candle, beeswax, our little kishka. Nowadays, they're coming electric. Yeah, electric kishka. That should be a good name of a band or something. But anyway, so yeah, I found out when I was 18 that I was adopted, even though I kind of knew because I was like really different from my family, right? I found out I was adopted, and I was just unleashed upon the world. It was entirely culture shock to go to University of Saskatchewan and just be, start off in this adult life in the skin that I wasn't familiar with. And yeah. So that's why I was very, very quiet for many, many years or decades, legit decades. And so what I did in those years of quietness and isolation and just, trying to figure shit out. Can you swear on YouTube? Well, that shit's not really swearing, is it? But in those decades of, and in those decades of learning, trying to figure shit out, I did a lot of watching. I watched a lot of things. And also, I learned a lot of things and I did a lot of things, I came to realize things about like traditional crafts. Like I do sewing, I do beadwork, I make regalia, I dance powwow, all these things that resonated with me. Like right here, I decided I want to do that. Just because I wasn't raised like that doesn't mean I can't have it now. So yeah, I learned to do beadwork and I'm pretty much self-taught. And yes, I did connect with my biological family, but it's not like we're exchanging Christmas presents or, I'm being invited over, to, people's weddings and stuff. It's just not like that. These are people that look at me and people that I do have love for, but it's just, we're missing a childhood connection, right? A lifelong connection that I was just simply deprived of. Now, whatever deprivations we live through in life, we can either, dwell on it, or we can just like take things back, or we can find, comfort, solace, and identity in other things. So I find my identity in being an artist, a creative person, and a writer. So yeah, that's what I do. I'm a writer. If you follow me on Facebook, you know I do a lot of writing. I do a lot of poetry. And in the past few years, now that I've moved to the city of Ottawa, Canada's national capital region. It's a beautiful city. I came here to continue my activism and to be an activist on Indigenous issues as they relate to child welfare, the environment, children and youth, culture and language, all that good stuff. If I see somewhere where there needs to be education, where there needs to be a little bit of compassion, a little bit of progress, and to right historical wrongs, then I'm right in there. Why not? Why not? Because if anything, when you grow up in isolation and you don't have, a couple cousins and brothers and such, backing you, then you learn to grow fangs, right? And when adversity, when you are met with adversity, I was often the only one there to defend myself. So I learned from a very young age to defend myself. And while I was in my adopted home too, I also did suffer abuse as a child, and that took many years to get over also. And yeah, there's a lot of stuff there, but I don't want to dwell on that. What I want to do is I want to focus on the positive stuff and the things that make me, the best cocoon, mother, sister, teacher, educator, speaker, activist, and all that other kind of stuff. The best person that I can be, right? So yeah, I am going to tell you all the stuff that I wish I had known when I was 20, because my life might have been different. I think my life took a certain trajectory for a reason. So yeah, that happens to all of us, right? So yes, here I am, just recently turned 48. I live in Canada's national capital region, almost 27 years sober. I'm an artist, I'm an activist, and that's pretty much it. I'm an artist and a writer and an activist. And my activism is very important to me. So even more so now that in this age of mass consumerism, instant gratification, and climate emergency, like, where do we find that happiness? Where do we find that inspiration? Where do we find that light? And recently I've been finding more opportunities to engage with youth, with the local school boards. I've been speaking at conferences, Canadian Labour Congress, different stuff like that. And because of the podcast and because of its impact, 23 million and growing in such major awards nationally and internationally is something that I think about a lot. And so to continue on the positive social impact that the podcast has had, I just want to continue contributing in a good way. So a lot of the things that I'm going to talk about may or may not be accepted by mainstream society. Why? Because I don't have a little business card with all these letters behind my name. I am university educated. I have a few years of 3 years of a Bachelor of Fine Arts with a major in painting. And I also have 3 years of a Bachelor of Honors in English Literature, but I never finished that either. Life happens, right? I also have 4 kids. So that's that. But what I talk about in my podcast and what I talk about in my live videos, and there's a lot on my Facebook profile, is, things of a nature that are not only key to survival, but are key to personal growth. Because, it's taken me 4 decades of careful observation and making 1,000 mistakes. Some of those mistakes I made like a dozen times just to be sure. But all those decades of making mistakes, learning from them, and wishing I had known better. But, you are going to benefit from all the thousands of mistakes I have made from day one till now. So that's a good thing. I speak of things of a spiritual nature because even as a child, I was a very spiritual person, because you do not see the confident, funny, lighthearted person you see today. This has not always been me. Sometimes I have, my dark phases. I have my phases where I was bullied. I'm very understanding of all the hardships and adversities that most human beings can go through in their life. It's not a contest. It's not bragging. It's just the way my life turned out. And if I can have positive change and fulfilling life and contentment and happiness now, then I want to share some light. Spread the light. That's the message here. So one of those things that I want to talk to you about, or that will be prominent in my live videos, is exactly that. Spiritual things. Because I think today, society, just permeates us with all these, special effects and all these things that are beyond human imagination, or reality, I should say, but live in our imagination, things that are superhuman, on supernatural events. So, but I, as a spiritual person who has had spiritual experiences since I was a young child, I know that there is a power out there greater than us. I am not a Christian. I'm not into, any other religion. I am a traditional Indigenous woman who has had a spiritual experience with Mother Earth, and that's how I live my life. And I know very well that it is an intangible, untouchable thing, and it's a powerful thing. And it's something that's changed my life over and over and over again, because I believe that those who have come before us exist in a realm as right here. It's just that we cannot see it with our earthbound bodies, our vessels that we are in. So yes, I'm a very spiritual person. I acknowledge the presence of spirits. I acknowledge the presence of those that came before us. I acknowledge the presence of energies. And that's important, that we do not diminish those abilities in our children or in people that we know, because some people are just more spiritually gifted and aware of the way the world works. And just because we do not share those same gifts and abilities, we should not be diminishing them for their sight, their vision, their gifts, their sensitivities. We need to be tolerant. We need to help people who have these gifts so that, they feel accepted and they feel valued, because they will become even more important in the coming years. There are things in this world, stuff like autism. I don't think that is, well, okay, let me say it this way. Autism is a gift because I know many autistic children that are close to my heart. One in particular in North Bay, he sees things that I see only in my dreams or can sense. I do have an awareness, but he sees them full on because he's a gifted child. And I believe that, there are many things, many mental illnesses and whatnot that have been misdiagnosed because of science's, adherence to, no, it cannot be this because it must be that, right? Or you cannot prove it, right? Things need to be proven and such like this. But there are truths in this world that exist beyond the world of science, that exist beyond the world of religion, and they are present, they are real, and they affect our lives. And if we're in tune with that, if we're in tune with the energy of the world, then our lives take on a lot of peace and contentment. And I think I've reached that point in my life where, yeah, I have things to share. And so I acknowledge the spiritual presence of Mother Earth, and people can judge me for not speaking my language. People can judge me for not growing up with, my kokuma, my mushum, or my aunts and uncles and all that kind of thing. I am no less than they are because I did not have those things. I am not less or better than any other human being on this world, because we are all made of stardust walking around in the skin of the human. That's how I see the world. So I do take a lot of questions from people who have listened to the podcast or have either, heard me speak in person, and I try to help and I try to assist wherever I can. But today is just a little introductory thing. I want to do this on a more regular basis. It is 1:00 Eastern Standard Time here in Ottawa. It's a gorgeous day, spring, leaves are budding, pretty soon we'll be seeing, flowers and all kinds of stuff. It is the time of regrowth and spraying and opportunity. So I just wanted to give this introductory little video, 17 minutes. I always keep them, I try to keep my videos under 20 minutes, so you can only hear me talk for so long. And then it's, I can only talk for so long before I die of thirst. Yeah. But anyway, so this is me. I prefer to go by Crystal because that's my original birth name. And it's the name I want to be known for in my life. And I am dying. I do need a drink. So I'm just going to end this now. So from now on at 1:00 Eastern Standard Time on YouTube, you can follow my channel. I will be doing some instructional stuff because I do beadwork. I do sew. I do regalia making. I'm a jingle dress dancer. I'm an artist. Maybe there might even be something in the background on that canvas by this time tomorrow. And I'm just going to, go over there and die quietly. Just kidding. So, yes, welcome to my channel. Subscribe if you want. I will announce, events in the coming weeks, which reminds me, May 24th and 25th in the city of Ottawa, Ontario, there will be the Adawa Native Friendship Center powwow. No, sorry, it's the Adawa Indigenous Friendship Center powwow. So if you're in the area, I will be a vendor. I'll be selling my art cards, and some other items. So put that calendar reminder into your phone and on your wall, everywhere. Just send that little message out, share it, and yeah, get the word out. And I'll see you in a few weeks. I'll see you folks tomorrow, and I'm just gonna get some water now. Toodles.